The Colorado spring game is coming up, and I know there's a ton of things happening right now with the transfer portal, people leaving, who are you going to get, what's happening, who's coming to the spring game, when are all the shows going to start, what are the shows going to be like, all of these things are happening right now with the fan base. Totally understand, just kind of is what it is, but I just wanted to focus a little bit on the things that I'm looking for and the things that I will be paying attention to during the spring game. I think that this will be a good time for CU to really showcase some things that we all want to see and that we're all really hoping to see and that we all, I think, are hoping that we got out of the transfer portal. So first thing I'm really going to be focusing on is the offensive line. I want to see how they look together. I want to see how they move together. I want to see how they look. I think sometimes you have to look the part and make sure that it looks good and that it makes sense and that Shedeur has a clean pocket to really make things happen. So I'm very fascinated to see how this offensive line looks. I don't care who's out there. I don't care who the ones and twos are. I don't really care about all of that. I think that it really matters to me what they look like, because if they look good, I can trust that the coaches will put whoever needs to be out there. I also feel like if it doesn't look good or if there are some things missing or whatever, they still have the transfer portal so they can hopefully go get more talent to shore up that offensive line. But I am going to be heavily focused on the offensive line. This offensive line this year has to be better than it was last year. And it doesn't have to be elite. It doesn't have to be fantastic. It doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be all these big words, but it does have to be better than it was last year. So I'm going to be paying very close attention to that offensive line. The other thing I'm going to be paying attention to is the defensive line and how the defensive line can move the offensive line. I think sometimes you have to take things in the spring games with a little bit of grain of salt, meaning if that offensive line holds up against the defensive line, it doesn't necessarily mean the defensive line is terrible. And if the defensive line just completely destroys the offensive line, it doesn't necessarily mean that that offensive line is terrible. Sometimes you can have a really good offensive line and a really good defensive line just going at each other, and they know each other so well. They've been practicing with each other. They've had 15 practices to get to know each other. They've had time to get to know each other as humans. So it doesn't shock me when either an offensive line dominates a defensive line or when a defensive line dominates an offensive line. I think both things can be great. I think the thing that we need to be looking at is just seeing what the defensive line looks like. Are they just bull rushing the offensive line? If they're bull rushing the offensive line, I'm a little bit concerned about that. But are they using spin moves? Are they using techniques? Are they using a lot of different things to defeat the offensive line? Okay, that's a good sign. So I wanted to just say that I think just total domination would be a terrible thing. But I think winning some reps here and there and it going back and forth and you not actually being able to declare a winner, or you not actually being able to say, yes, this offensive line is better than defensive line or whatever, I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's kind of funny because it's kind of like my channel. I don't care when I get thumbs down. Sometimes it's kind of funny to see how many thumbs downs I'm getting over thumbs ups. And my most successful videos have a really good balance of thumbs up and thumbs down. And I think that that's where you want to be. I think in life, it's so hard to get people to 100% agree on anything. And so if we're starting to see a little bit of variation, I think that that's good because that means they're both working. I also just want to say that this is April. And so I do expect for us to have a different looking team come fall training or whenever that is. What is that, the beginning of August or whatever? I do expect us to have a different team, but I am interested to see what we're working with right now. And I am interested to see who we have, how they're moving, and how they fit together. So that offensive line is something I'm curious about. Defensive line is something I'm curious about. The third thing I want to say is I know they probably won't do this, but I want them to start off with a couple of run plays. It would be amazing if the first team out on offense came out onto the field and they ran the ball. And I just think that that would send a clear message that they are going to run the ball this season. I am actually going to be curious to see how many run plays we see during the spring game. I also totally get that this spring game is not like a full televised game, maybe. I don't know the structure or how they're going to do things. I don't know if it's just, if they're going to line it up and just 11 on offense, 11 on defense and march up and down the field. I don't know what it's going to look like this year, because I remember what it looked like last year and it wasn't much of a game. It was more of kind of drills and like different things like that. So I'm hoping this year is different. I'm hoping this year we get to see more of a game style, and I'm hoping that we get to see a lot of running the ball to start. That doesn't necessarily mean that I don't want to see Shedeur. I just think that we all know who Shedeur is. We all know who he's going to be. So I don't need him to showcase his talents during the spring game. I want to see the offensive line work, and I want to see the D line work, because I think keys to success for next year is going to be how much time can we give Shedeur? How does that pocket look? And can we stop the run? Because if we can't give Shedeur time or stop the run, it's going to be a very long season. So that's why I want to see us run the ball, and I want to see how our defense responds to us running the ball. So that is something that I really want to see. I think something else I'm actually kind of interested in, because I don't know what it's going to look like or if we're going to do it. I kind of want to see our special teams. I feel like last year our punter was phenomenal, don't get me wrong, but it would be nice to see some special team stuff. It would be nice to see like a couple of field goals, longer field goals. It would be nice to see some punts, just to see like who's going to be on return, who's going to be returning punts, what that's going to look like. I would really like to see a little bit of special teams. Like, I know special teams is not like the fun thing. It's not the sexy thing. It's not the thing that people talk about. I got that. But I am curious to see special teams. I just want to see what it looks like. And I want to see if we've gotten better in that regard. The last thing I'm going to say that I want to see, but again, like, I want to see it, but like, it is kind of what it is. I want to see who is going to be in the rotation for linebacker right now. I actually want to see how this, sorry, my arm is cramping. It's kind of weird. I kind of want to see how this, how the linebackers are going to be moving in the spring game. And so, not because, like, I will say this until I'm blue in the face, or until we get somebody or a couple of people. I do think we need more linebackers. I do think we need more fast side-to-side linebackers. That's just how I think. That's what I feel. But I actually want to see how the linebackers are going to be used in the spring game. I want to see who's first in. I want to see how long they are first in. I want to see how long before we rotate and somebody else comes in. And then I want to see who gets the most time at linebacker. Because I think sometimes we listen to what coaches are saying, but we're not seeing what they're actually doing. Because what a coach is saying is one thing. You know how I feel about coaches speak? If I think about it and I remember, I will tag my coaches speak video up here. You know how I feel about coaches speak? Like, these coaches are all full of crap. But what they are not full of crap on sometimes is what they actually show you and what actually happens on the field. And so I'm really curious to see what the linebackers look like. I expect us to be good at wide receiver. I expect us to be good at corner. I expect us to be good at safety. I'm just going to leave that where it's at. I'm just going to trust that we're going to be good there. Everywhere else, I have some concerns, and I really want to see how it plays out. Oh, and then obviously, I think that we're fine at quarterback. So I'm just kind of curious to see how things shape up, what it looks like, what it feels like, the energy, how the spring game is going to be managed and happening. I am recording this before this video actually releases, obviously. So I'm hoping that we have enough players, and it's not like this whole transfer portal thing that happened last year, that we can really have some players out there so that we can really see more of a game style and not drills. So that we can really see the team and really see the core and really see what's going on and really start to just make assessments on what we see and what we think. Obviously, what we see and what we think kind of really doesn't matter. But as a fan, I'm really curious to see what's going to happen or what they're trying to produce or what they're giving out. I'm sorry, I worked out before I made this video and my arm is literally cramping. And so I have to rub it out. So sorry. And no, I'm not going to edit it out. I'm going to keep it real. So that is going to be the video. You're going to see me randomly rubbing my arm because it's tight and it's tense. But anyways, so those are the things I want to see in the spring game. Very curious to see what the offensive line looks like, how they work. Are they cohesive? Are they communicating? What's going on? Curious to see what the defensive line looks like. I also feel like we need D tackles, but I'll leave that where it's at. And then I also really hope we come out and run the ball just to send that message. And then I would love to see special teams. I would love to see what that looks like. And I'm really hoping this year that we get a real game style. And I hope there's not a mass transfer portal exodus. If there is, I don't know what to say about that, but I really just hope there isn't, and that we actually get to see like a real game, real formats, and real things, so that we can make our educated opinion on what we think we're seeing, and then go on from there. So anyways, as always, if you have comments below, or if you have any comments that you want to share, please let me know your thoughts below. I love listening to what people think and feel about Colorado when it comes to stuff like this. I also just want to state, one thing I am going to do at the end of this, as these highlights are starting to show, I am going to pop up my old video on what I think Colorado needs, because even after people have left in the transfer portal so far as I'm making this video, we haven't really lost certain things that are going to make me change my opinion on what I think they need. So I'm going to pop up my what I think they need video, and there's going to be another video on the other side. I don't know what it's going to be, but just to give you some context on what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, because none of the things I'm thinking or feeling has changed since the transfer portal is open. And so now I'm ready to see the spring game and to really see what we have. So I'm going to stop talking, but share with me your comments below. What are you looking out for? What are you hoping to see? Or what are you hoping that you get from this spring game? As always, thank you for watching my video.